This is how I used to make them, just with rebaited corners. The edges of my hives have all got a radius on them, and the reason why I do that is because that's how I used to do my honeybee hives 40 years ago when I was a commercial beekeeper. I just found that when you had boxes and hive components and you're trying to put them into confined spaces with a forklift, if you had a square edge they always caught, whereas if you had a round edge you could sort of wedge them in. And I just got grown up thinking that all hives should have round corners. It's unique to me. The clips that I use, they are reminiscent of what I used to do as a commercial beekeeper. Used to be able to buy a much bigger and heavier duty clip for beehives. I think you can still get them. I have an absolute passionate hate for straps and levers on beehives. I bought a couple of hundred honeybee hives like it once and I couldn't get rid of those horrible straps quick enough and replace them with clips. These are a scaled down version. They're made from quite heavy spring stainless steel. They're buggers of things to make because they're fiddly and they are hard, but I've got a jig that will take most of the hard work out of it. I went to making my corners finger jointed about 5 or 6 years ago. One of the main reasons I did it was because I've got rheumatoid arthritis in various parts of my body, particularly in my hands and wrist, and screwing and driving nails hurts me something fierce. So I made these boxes with finger joints. When I put glue, I paint glue into those joints with a brush and push the components together. That's a little loose, that one. Square. I put them in this press. Doesn't take long for the glue to go off, and by the way, that is the best wood glue I know of. It is strong as. It will take boiling, but it certainly makes hives joints strong. I wind this press up tight, squash those joints in as tight as I can. Well, this time that glue is starting to go off a bit and get a bit tacky, and it'll hold it in there really well. Check it with the square just to make sure it is square. The ends will be a little proud, so I sand them off on the belt sander. Just take the proud bits off, and when I've done that, checking that it's square, I then put it on this big disc sander and get those mating edges where it joins other components absolutely flat and level. Intergrain. It's a paving decking treatment, but more importantly I marry it with this ultra primer. It's got excellent UV qualities. I've got hives that would have been painted with it 10 years ago that I haven't repainted yet. They could be time to do it. When I put this primer on, I put it on as thick as it will go, and the timber sucks it up beautifully. I actually use as much by volume in one coat of primer as I do with 4 coats, thin coats of the top coat. Excellent product, bit expensive though. That's what the finished product looks like.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
This one's got a little tag on it that says crafted from Queensland Kauri by Irvine. Now, because I have mostly Hocking's eye, well, virtually all Hocking's eye, that's the bee that is locally here, and they don't tend to build much on the outside. When I shift my hives, I use one of those plugs, and those plugs are what the termite treatment fellas use when they come here to do my concrete slabs. They drill a hole in the concrete, push their nozzle of insecticide down into it, and while they're busily doing my slab, I have a look in the back of their ute and pinch some of their plugs. Alright? Every hive I've ever made has got my initials fire branded in the base of it, but it hasn't stopped people from stealing the hives. I make my hives, well, I sell quite a few hives to other people, so I have to make a hive that suits all occasions. Now this hive has got some 1/4 inch wire mesh in the base of it. It's also got a 1/4 inch hole at the back with a screw in it. So if someone has got a real messy split with honey that's dribbling everywhere, or they're transferring them out of a meter pit or out of a log, from experience I know there is nothing worse than for attracting pests than having honey in the bottom of your hive. So you can drain it, and that mesh allows your bees to crawl around without getting bogged down in honey. I have been using these splitting plates for a long time. I've recently changed from using Perspex because I understand the dust from it that I create when I'm cutting them out is carcinogenic, so I now use plywood. Thank you very much, Nick, for the tip. Now, I have at times made them so that I can put 2 of these divider plates in, one on the bottom half and one on the top half, but I don't do that anymore. I have found that these little bees build up, attach on the undersides, but on the top sides they don't attach nearly as much. They tend to leave a bee space where they can crawl around. There will be certain adhesions, but there's a lot of that they don't actually build onto. In the past, had a second breather vent, but of more recent times, due to popular demand, I'm starting to make all of my hives, I'll turn it around here, Nick. All of my hives with a 1/4 inch hole in the back and a stainless steel screw. So for those who want to create another vent, which in my mind is a means of creating an extra spot for a pest to enter, that's available for people if they need to do that. What else? Lids. I see a lot of people have lids that are made from ridge capping and valley, etc. Most of them I noticed go over the hive and clip down onto the side, and the rain that runs off the top runs down the side and then runs down the side of the box. That to me is not the ideal. I cut out a 400mm square of Colorbond, and I've got a folding machine that I've made for folding it so I can get those angles in the fold, and then I pop rivet those pieces on so that it clips over the hive like so. It gives more eaves, sheds the water away from the hive, and gives them a bit more cooling benefit.
And it looks really nice too, that's the other thing.
Yeah, well, I think they look nice. People used to absolutely love them, and then I made a mistake. I made one of these traditional backyard dunny roofs. And now everyone wants those.
Yeah.
And they're so much harder and time consuming to make.
Yeah.
Right, from time to time I get asked whether I could make a smaller hive for Australiannativebee australis. But I don't get that much inquiry for them, and I just sort of didn't think it was worthwhile setting up to make a different hive. So this is my version of an Australiannativebee australis hive. It's the same dimensions, except I put a piece of wood, screw, reduces the internal volume by quite a bit.
Great idea.
Simple. Something else that may be worth knowing. Tom Carter put me onto this tip, but Tom told me that when you paint your boxes and you put them together, next time you go to use them, the paint will stick. Often does. He said, get yourself a block of beeswax and just rub a film of beeswax on those mating surfaces. And invaluable bit of information, saves a lot of paint from being pulled off.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
I don't know what else I can really tell you. But people these days, starting with bees, are lucky. There's no end of information available to them. I don't know whether there was an internet in the early 90s when I started. I certainly didn't know about it. I've really only heard of it, discovered it more recently. But these plugs, great for shifting them. The reason why I have a landing board is not because the bees need a landing board, it's so that those clips, when they're all done up, and if I'm carrying a load of them, and in my ute I can carry 112 hives by stacking them 2 deep, but I can have hives up against one another like that without the clips catching.
Ah, brilliant.
Not many people will have seen a ute load like that. I'm unloading these, they were gone for pollination. 112 hives in one load.